Okay, good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Stephen Thompson. I'll be taking you through today, looking at a deep dive into the digital forge subscriptions, which is the new offering from Markforged. As I mentioned, my name is Stephen Thompson. I'm a business development manager for Core Additive. I also handle a lot of technical and operational work for Core Additive in Markforged as well. Today, we're going to be hearing from one of our applications engineers here at Core Additive, Vaishnav Ranjan. We're also going to be getting some live demonstrations of some of the features and benefits of the Markforged digital forge subscriptions from the applications engineer for ANZ at Markforged, Abhishek Malik, who will be switching over to. So, the digital forge subscriptions is a new offering from Markforged that started this year. Effectively replaces the old, what you would know as a success plan or a service plan. And what it does is it really brings together the three pillars of the software, of the support, and of the training that we can offer you once you've got your Markforged printer up and running. So basically what's changing is that the traditional paid software, so things that you would know as Eiger Fleet or Blacksmith or Offline Eiger, all of the success plans and anything around Markforged University are no longer actually available as standalone products. And that started at the beginning of this quarter. So moving forward now, all of these products have effectively been repackaged into what Markforged now call the digital forge subscription. So it's a much more simpler model for customers to get their head around. They're not having to dealing with different success plans and different types of software. More importantly as well, it's a much more cost-effective pricing structure that Markforged have put together and allows for much more organizational-wide access. So basically, as I mentioned, there are three pillars to these digital forge subscriptions. Firstly, we look at the software. So we're going to be looking at each of the Eiger capabilities. What are the core capabilities within Eiger, and what are the additional features that you get within the specific tiers of each of the subscriptions? We're also going to be looking at the support that you get. So that is the support specifically from Markforged, but also the local support that you get from Core Additive on the ground. We're also going to be looking at the training element as well. So that's generally around Markforged University and how to basically train your company and your users to be able to get the best out of the printers going forward.
Hi everyone, I'm Vaishnav Ranjan. I am the applications engineer here at Core Additive. So let's get started at the various subscription tier offerings from Markforged. So basically there are four offerings which Markforged provides, which are the basic, essential, advanced, and on-prem. We will look into each of these tiers in greater detail to get a better understanding of what each tier offers. Stephen will be discussing the basic tier and essential tier. I will go into more detail on the advanced and on-prem. It's worth mentioning straight away that every subscription tier includes ISO 27001 certification for advanced security and data protection.
Okay, so let's start with the basic subscription tier. So as the name suggests, the basic tier is exactly that. It's basically just a 1-year standard manufacturer's warranty. It does contain standard features that you would expect from Markforged for each of the printers. So you do get an unlimited digital inventory. Essentially means that you can upload all your STLs into Eiger and keep them stored there. You can manage your printer from anywhere in the world with an internet connection. You can do things like customizing your supports where you need to, or you can also just use the print prep feature to start to automate that process. So you do have a limited number of options within the basic feature. But that is pretty much it. You don't get any proactive or reactive support from Core Additive locally, and you're kind of left to fend for yourself to some degree. You have access to Markforged's online knowledge base, but that's pretty much where your support's going to end. You're always going to get what we call OTA updates, which are over-the-air updates, to make sure that your software and your firmware on your printer is being constantly updated. Customers that have been around for a while will know that these firmware and software updates mean that the printers are continually getting better and better. Also remember that within the basic tier, there are some features that are only available for 1 year. So if you do start to utilize things like Markforged University or additional Eiger features within your first year of having your printer and having basic subscription tier, you are going to lose access to those features after that first year if you stay on that basic subscription tier. So looking at the essentials tier now, I'm going to go into a little bit more detail here. The reason being is that this is pretty much where we would recommend, what we would recommend for most of our customers. It offers what we think is probably the best value in terms of sort of the features and the benefits you get relative to its cost. So I'll take a look through some of these features. So basically, batch workflow presets help you to upload a large number of files into the Eiger software with easy setup of properties for each type of part. So it's possible to have standard settings for different types of parts. So maybe you have a 200 micron PLA for all your R&D parts for quick printing, but you might have maybe a 50 micron setting with Onyx for all of your end use parts. So what this can do is significantly reduce the time and effort for uploading and setting up your parts in the initial instance. RBAC stands for role-based access control, which means you can manage access to files and folders within Eiger depending on the job type. So maybe production team only see the final parts, but R&D can see all the versions of a part. The Eiger API facilitates the secure integration of Eiger and Markforged printers into existing workflows, automation, and infrastructure. So what that means is that users don't have to use multiple platforms to do their work. SSO, or single sign-on, is an identity-based security measure that links your Eiger organization to a specific individual. So you can keep a track on who's doing what within the Eiger framework. TLS, transport-led security, is basically an additional security feature. It's a way that different parties communicate over the internet, and it means that with an encrypted and secure system, they can't be intercepted or tampered with by third parties. It's basically an additional security on top of ISO 27001. Part approval workflows allow an administrator of the Eiger framework to review parts and approve them for production. So it allows you to start to create some production workflows within your organization. So once parts are locked, they can't be edited, and that ensures integrity of the improved designs. For those on 3-year subscription plans, you get a 10% discount on spool packs. So that is 10 spools of Onyx for the price of 9, and that also includes the spool pack, including carbon fiber as well. So that's going to help you save money in the long term. Finally, most importantly, you also get organization-wide access to Markforged University. And you also get full replacement wear and tear items on most parts of your printer. I'm not going to go into too much detail right now because we're going to talk about those in more detail a little bit later on.
Moving on to the advanced subscription tier. In the software side of things, it consists of all the benefits of the essential tier, along with simulation, inspection, and toolpath export for Digimat. Simulation and inspection helps to validate the models and printed parts. More on that a bit later. Toolpath export. This feature is for customers who use Digimat to simulate their Markforged parts. It exports toolpath file that Digimat uses to help construct analysis models of their parts. Coming to the on-prem subscription tier offering, this is for organization that needs Eiger on the premise for whatever reasons. The features included in this subscription tier are slightly different as compared to the other subscription tiers. Firstly, there is only quarterly releases, as the on-prem doesn't have the OTA updates, so there's only option for quarterly release updates. Secondly, local file storage and slicing ensures that the parts are sliced locally as opposed to in the cloud. Thirdly, there's an option for private LAN connections and custom TLS for increased security. In addition, future releases will have the option for API access and toolpath exports for Digimat simulation software. Due to the very nature of the on-prem, it doesn't include some of the features that's available in the other subscription tiers, including utilization dashboard, device management in Eiger, although you have these features on your device, multi-factor authentication, RBAC, presets, and custom analytics. These are the list of features that's not available on-prem.
Okay, so going into a little bit more detail now with regards to some of the features. The Markforged University is a comprehensive curriculum that's been developed by Markforged over the last 3-4 years and provides a really strong foundation of design for additive manufacturing knowledge, otherwise known as DFAM nowadays. So this ensures that new staff are well trained in the art of DFAM. Courses are a great experience both for someone who's new to additive manufacturing and also those that have been using Markforged and Design for Additive Manufacturing to top up their current knowledge and information. There are different pathways that are available in different courses depending on your specific interest. So, for example, there is a Certified Additive Expert Composite, which deals mainly for the composite machines. That's probably going to be for most of our customers. But there is also a Certified Additive Expert in Metal, which is specifically related to, which is specifically a metal certification course. Support and replacement parts is really where the essentials tier and above really starts to come into its own in terms of value for money. So any part that's subject to wear and tear or accidental damage will be replaced as part of the subscription tier. So things like pulley systems, drive belts, even print heads and extruders, if they get damaged, will be replaced. You also get consumables replaced, so things like nozzles, and tubes, Bowden tubes, feed tubes are all included in the cost of the subscription. Importantly, both proactive and reactive technical support is provided locally by us here at Core Additive. So this can be a great value add and get you back up and running much more quickly than troubleshooting on your own using the Markforged online knowledge database. So it can save you considerable time and energy for the company and making sure that you're running at maximum capacity. For those with an industrial printer, so that is the X3, X5, and X7, so that doesn't include the Mark II and the Onyx 1 and Pro, the annual machine calibration uses a reference bed, a reference print bed, to recalibrate the printer to make sure it's in peak condition for scanning for the use of inspection. So as a result of this process, all the parts will print a lot better, a lot greater quality.
Up next, user management or role-based access control, also known as RBAC. It is used to control who has what information in your organization. This feature lets you control the exact flow of information in the organization. This is again part of user management feature. Coming to the simulation. Simulation helps to take out the guesswork out of Markforged parts by integrating virtual testing into Eiger. Users define a case and then validate the part performance and optimize print settings to ensure that the parts meet performance requirements while maximizing print efficiency. Finally, the inspection tool is a feature which ensures that the parts are up to the required accuracy. This process ensures that the part dimension is within the limits of the required dimension. Now, Abhi will provide a demonstration of how these tools are used in a live demo. Over to you, Abhi.
Awesome. Thanks, Vaishnav. Hey guys, my name's Abhi. I'm the application engineer for Australia and New Zealand for Markforged. And today I'm just going to take you through a quick live demo of simulation and inspection, just to show you how they work and what sort of outputs you're going to be getting from those really cool software tools that we've added to Eiger. So Okay, so here we've got IGA. You can see I've got a folder here for the subscriptions webinar. And on the right-hand side, you can see a part that's got a green tab here that's approved. So this is something that, you know, if you have admin access, you'll be able to approve parts for your team members. So if I go in here, you can see that, you know, this part's been uploaded by myself, but in the case of an organization, it might be uploaded by a junior engineer or by a production engineer. And then I have the opportunity here to approve or reject the part. So at the moment, it's already been green approved. And what I can then do is I can go through, I can't toggle any of the settings or change them, but I can go through and see, you know, what the interior of the part looks like, whether they've opted to add fiber or anything like that. So that's just a quick example there of the role-based access control that Vaishnav and Stephen were talking about. So we go back into the folder and we look at this optimized part here. So this is an optimized version of the previous antenna bracket that we saw. And what we're going to do here is just have a quick look at the internal. So I'm going to look at the internal view of the part. And now you can see that I've got one large group of fiber here that's been split up into 3 separate stripes. And, you know, intuitively, as someone who's quite experienced with the machines, I might say, hey, look, this is probably a good place to start. But how do I validate that? And so that's really where simulation comes in. And what I can now do is I can run a simulation based on the load cases required for this part with this carbon fiber specification that I've put in. So if I click up here on the right-hand side and I go into the simulation tab, we then have the ability to look at the part in simulation view. On the right-hand side, you have the load case. So the 2 parameters that you're going to be working against here for the load case are the target safety factor, which is just a multiple of the loads that you put in. So in this case, it would be, the safety factor is 2, so it would be double. And then the maximum deflection. So that's the maximum deflection at any point on the part. So the furthest it's going to deflect, whether the stress concentration is the highest. So what we can do here is we can go in here and edit load case. I'll quickly delete the anchor so we can go through adding that ourselves. You can see here that I have 2 loads of 25 newtons, and they're a directional load here facing to the right-hand side. So what I can do is if I want to, I can edit the load. So if I go into here, I hit edit, I can change the directionality of the load case if I want to. So maybe I want to rotate it a bit more so that it's at 90 degrees there. Doesn't look like it is, so we can just change it. Here we've got 270 and 270. And I can then click out. We have feature recognition here in the simulation package. So it's picking up not the individual meshes, but it'll recognize features such as flat surfaces, cylinders, and that sort of thing. So if I hit create a load, I can then change the direction of the load. So we change this to 90, and then I'll rotate this around to 90 as well. So that's one way to get directionality. And then if you just click the arrow, you can then change the magnitude and the direction there. So for the magnitude, we're going to add 25 newtons. Click out. So now I've got the 3rd load, and we'll quickly add the 4th load here. So I hit create featured load, and then we'll just use the toggles to rotate around. And then change this here to a 25 Newton load again. So once that's done, I now have 4 featured loads that all follow the same direction. In this case, our requirement was to have a 10 kilogram distributed load across these 4 bores that are going to have bolts running through, and there's going to be a load pulling on those bolts. What we now need to add is the anchor. And so this part's going to be ultrasonically welded to the bottom surface that it's attaching to. So we're just going to click this bottom surface and create anchor. And now you can see that this has now changed to allow me to save, because I have an anchor and I have at minimum 1 load that I want to add here. So I can hit save load case. And now here, I hit validate to validate these results. And so rather than doing that live, I'm just going to go to a simulation I ran about a month ago. But effectively, depending on the complexity of the part, the amount of load cases or features that you've selected on the part, the validation will take anywhere from 30 seconds to 5 minutes. And it's really, really cool to be able to do that in Chrome because it's a cloud-based operation, which means that you can go ahead and navigate elsewhere and can go about your, the rest of the work that you have to do. And this will work in the background. So you can see here, once we hit validate, I'm going into these validation results from May the 5th. So you can see how quickly that loaded that up. If I had run multiple simulations with different variations of design, they would all be saved here as well. And you can see here that the maximum deflection is going to be at this endpoint here, and it's 0.04 micron. And the minimum safety factor, so that means that at minimum, it's going to be able to take a load that's 19.86 times the 10 kilo distributed load that I put through this part here. So the 2.5 kilograms on each pinhole. The next thing that I can do is go in here and hit optimize. What optimize will do is it will run through different permutations for print time, for material cost, for strength, and other types of parameters like this. And it will then give me a varying results for, onyx use, for carbon fiber use, to reduce those different things against the different parameters such as cost, time, and the strength. So that process takes a bit longer. It can take a couple of minutes to 20-30 minutes, depending on, again, how complicated the part is and how many permutations it has to run through for that process. But as you can see here, effectively what I've done by running this simulation is, without even hitting print, I know that the part is going to withstand the forces that I'm going to put on it. And now effectively what I have to do is go in and optimize. Either I can go in and optimize this part through Eiger and using the algorithms within Eiger, or what I can do is I can go in here back into X-ray and I can change these figures so that I have less fiber, because our safety factor was 20, which is largely a huge overkill. And so what I can do here is I probably change this fiber stripe count to, I could probably go in and I change it to 5, 3. So there's only 3 groups of fiber running through it, rather than the 5 that the simulation ran on. So that way I can then prioritize print cost and print time depending on what my objective is for the part, whether I'm prototyping or whether I'm running a production part. And that way I know it's going to work each time. So once I've printed the part, how do I know that that part is going to be within tolerance and spec? So prior to hitting print, what I need to do is I need to go to the part file here. So I click part on the toggle up top. I then hit inspection. So I would toggle this switch if it wasn't grayed out, because we're looking at a previous version of the part. That will then take me into here, and then I have the option to choose the part scan resolution. So whether I want a high resolution, whether I want a low resolution, or whether I want to take scan points at every 1.5 millimeters of the part. So obviously the higher resolution that I want here, the more this scan time on the left hand side, you can see that the print time is 18 hours and 58 minutes. The scan time is 1 hour. So the reason it's 1 hour is because it will print one pass, one layer in the Z direction, and then it will pause the printing. It will then go and scan, print, scan, print, scan, print, and generate a 3D point cloud for you. So if you increase this resolution to high, that scan time will increase as well. So depending on your workflow and how stringent your requirements are, you can keep that at medium, or you can increase that as well. So let's have a look at a inspection build. So I'm just going to change tabs here. So I have one open already. And so again, this was run in May, but you can see that I have full access to it here. You can see that this part has already been printed. And so if we select it, effectively what we can do here is we can look at key surfaces. So again, we're using surface recognition to recognize things like planar surfaces, surfaces that are normal to each other. So, perhaps we want to compare the angle between these two surfaces. You'll be able to get that by looking at the parameters. So let's say we select this surface here. We can see that we've got a whole bunch of different parameters here that show up. So we have things like the amount of scan points, the surface area, so you can compare that to the surface area from your CAD file. Things like the mean normal deviation, the standard deviation of the scan points. So these two parameters here are figures that compare the scan point data to the original STL, which basically acts as the datum. And then you can see here the normal angle deviation is 0.06 degrees. So you can see that it's off kilter by about 0.06 degrees. Whether that's within spec or not is for you to decide. But effectively what this is going to allow you to do is to verify the accuracy of the print. Oftentimes people and companies will say, hey, our printers are accurate to this level of micron or to this angle or to this specification. And so what Markforged has gone ahead and done is really walk that talk and give you the ability to verify that. So once I have all of these parameters here, that's a lot of data to go through. Maybe I only want one or two of those key things. So what you can then do is hit the plus button on the right-hand side here. And, I can remove things from the report. I can add things to the report. And on the left-hand side, you can see the toggle that's going to be added here. So you can see measurement A, B, C, D, F. You then have the option to edit things like the label that's going to be on the report. So maybe we can call this standard deviation for this surface. We can call it the right wall standard deviation. And then that's how it's going to show up in the report. We can also then add some notes in here. It shows you the final part mass and it shows you the part dimensions. It'll also give you a distribution chart here of all of the scan points, and it'll show you, if you want to track these, you can select that as well, and you can specify the tolerance that you might have. Maybe you're working towards a 50 micron tolerance, or having 50% of the part within that spec, and so you can look at all those figures as well. If I hit download scan report here on the bottom right hand side, it will generate a report. So we can see here, you guys are seeing the same screen as I am. So we've got a report that's being generated, and effectively you have all those data points that I talked about. So you have the scan point distribution, which shows you that the mean deviation is 20 micron. So the part's quite accurate here. It shows you where there is a higher inaccuracy of part of the print and where it's within spec. It then shows you that from both angles as well. And now you can see here that label that I added for the standard deviation for the right wall is shown as well. So all of these things, such as the criteria for pass and fail, you can check those and make sure that you're within spec. Things like concentricity of holes. You can see here we've selected measurement C, which is 1.8 degrees off. Obviously, this isn't the optimal direction to be printing circular holes, but it's still quite accurate. So it's giving you all that information for you to verify. And if you're working towards ISO 9001 or anything like that, this document will act as a supporting documentation for you in that regard. So if you guys have any questions, please feel free to start putting those through in the Q&A feature, and I can address those after we wrap up the webinar. That's it for me. Thank you.
Great stuff, Abby. Thank you very much for that live demonstration. Much appreciated. Hopefully that starts to put into a little bit of perspective regards to things like the IBARC and the teams, and also the additional features of inspection and simulation. So just double check. So here we have a quick graphic of the sort of map our product features. So just on the left, it gives you an idea about what the discontinued products are and where they now sit within the subscription tier. So as you can see, things like offline IGO is now effectively on-prem or on-premises. Eiger Fleet, with the additional user management and batch workflows, is now part of the Essentials subscription tier. And the new inspection, what's called Blacksmith, and the new simulation capabilities are in the advanced subscription tier. So just to finally wrap up and summarize, we hope that there is a subscription tier for every customer. Just to very, very briefly run back through them, the basic is effectively your 1 year standard warranty that comes with the printer. The Essentials starts to really add much more sort of management and integration and analysis into the use of the machine, helps you with your organization and tracking and checking certain sort of parts within the workflows. Advanced adds even more functionality around simulation and inspection. And sort of finally, the on-prem or the on-premises is really only for sort of military or defense or any kind of sort of heavily regulated industry where, generally speaking, cloud connections are not necessarily going to be allowed. So I'd probably suggest that the on-prem is probably not where you need to be. The advanced, for those that specifically require inspection and simulation. The Essentials is probably where most of our customers are going to be in terms of value, and the basic gives you exactly that, the basic 1 year warranty. So the next steps from here is that our Core Additive sales team will contact individual customers. We're going to discuss your specific situations. Every customer is going to have a potentially slightly different situation. So you currently might not be on a success plan, or you might have multiple printers that are with and without plans. You might be currently on a plan of which you can stay on that plan if you wish till its natural end. Or if you're looking to switch right now, there are swap outs that we can do. So every customer, we do have a solution for you. It'll just depend on your specific situation. So we'll leave that up to the sales team to contact you and talk to you about your specific situation. If you do have any technical questions, you're more than welcome to talk to us here in the tech team. Our email addresses are there on screen. More than welcome to get in touch, and we'll answer any technical questions for you. There are offers that are available for you right now. So I do know that there are discounted rates on the Essentials and the Advanced subscription tiers for our existing customers. So if that's something that's of interest for you or of interest to you, then please do mention that to the sales team when they get in touch with you. So with that, I would like to thank everyone. Thank you to Vaishnav and to Abhishek as well for their presentations. And I would like to open up the floor to some specific questions. So we've got a couple of questions that have come through now. What happens if you do nothing? So do you stay on basic? So yeah, exactly that. So if you decide to do nothing, that is entirely a choice of yours. If your printer is older than 1 year, then you don't have that 1 year warranty anymore, but you will still have access to the online knowledge base from Markforged. Markforged will no longer accept support questions direct to them. They will be directed through back to us here at Core Additive, and we will deal with them from that point as well. So hopefully that's answered that question. Got a question here around simulation for Vaishnav. What's the difference between Markforged simulation and something like SolidWorks simulation or Abacus? So I'll pass over to Vaishnav for that question.
So the main difference between the Markforged simulation and something like SolidWorks simulation or Abacus is that Markforged simulation is very specific to the Markforged printers. The one thing that Markforged printers are specifically can do is put in the carbon fiber or the fiber layers. So this simulation takes into account that fiber layers in the part, as well as the process limitation of the FDM printers. For instance, it takes into account anisotropy along these direction. So that sort of process limitation might be difficult to model in some standard packages like Abacus or ANSYS. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay. Thank you very much for that, Vaishnav. Got another question that's come through from here. Thank you for these. I'll pass this one over to Abby. Is simulation only for the X7? Abby, are you happy to answer that?
Yeah, for sure. No, it's not. So effectively, it's a simulation tool for all of our printers that run at the moment. Onyx and carbon fiber are the two materials that we have available. So if you're reinforcing your parts with carbon fiber on any machine, whether that's a Mark II or even an Onyx Pro, and you're not using any fiber at all, and you just want to run a simulation based on an Onyx part, you can do that as well. So the answer is you can do it on any of our printers. For the metal machines as well, we've just released stainless steel, so you have the opportunity to reinforce to simulate parts that are printed in stainless steel 17.4. As we go, we're adding all of the materials in our portfolio to simulation, so you'll hopefully be able to do it for all the printers and all the materials soon.
Okay, thank you for that. Just on that simulation, we just had another question coming. Will the simulation software be expanded to look at assemblies of parts? I'll answer it first, and then I'll let Abby have a go. My feeling would be probably not. Markforged is very much based around STLs and standard singular parts. However, Abby may well have some additional information on that one.
Nothing that I can comment on at the moment.
Okay.
But yeah, I would say, we're focusing on parts at the moment. So STLs, like Stephen mentioned, are the way to go. And it's hard to get, assemblies within STLs.
Yeah. No, I think that's pretty much.
If you do export your assembly as an STL, then it won't have the same interaction between parts that you would have if you're using something like SolidWorks. So the best way to go would probably be to, if you're going for something that complicated in terms of a simulation, you're probably going to need your own, much more involved package.
Yep. Okay. What's RBAC again? I didn't understand. Sorry, maybe we weren't particularly clear. So RBAC is role-based access control. So what that basically means is within the EIGA software, an organization owner will be able to start to create teams within the EIGA framework, and you can start to lock off certain folders and certain parts to certain individuals. So what that means is that then allows you to create a much more sort of complex framework within your EIGA. At the moment, I would suspect most people's EIGA is just a whole bunch of folders that everybody can see and everybody can have access to. So what role-based access control does is allows an organizational owner to create a framework for, say, pre-production, for part approval, for final part approval. The production team can only see the approved parts. The R&D team, there might be two different teams. There might be a team working on one part of an area of an assembly, and another team working on a different part, and they don't necessarily need to see each other's sort of pre-approval parts. So you can start to really simplify and make life a lot easier for users within the EIGA software using that role-based access control. If any of these sort of features you're not entirely sure how they might sort of affect your particular business, we're more than happy to have offline conversations specific to your individual needs and requirements, and we can offer some individual solutions that might well be sort of specifically relevant to you. Final question that we've got here, is inspection only on the FX20? I think we know the answer, but I'll pass over to Abby just to knock that one off.
It's only on the X7 at the moment. It will be, we're working on getting it onto the FX20 as well, although it won't be using the same process as the X7 using lasers. It'll be using the sensors on the FX20. So yeah, hopefully soon.
Fantastic stuff. Look, we've run out of questions, so we will start to wrap up here. Thank you very much for everybody that's attended. This webinar is also going to be has been recorded as well. So if you didn't manage to get to see this live, or you've got some colleagues that would be interested as well, we will be sending out some links to be able to access this webinar as a recorded webinar. I've just skipped back a slide to show that our email addresses again. So if you do have any other technical questions or queries regarding the new subscription tiers, then please do feel free to get in touch. Other than that, thank you very much for your time once again, and we hope you have a great day. Thank you very much.